Oh man, Gary Russell talking that tough talk. Gary Russell talking that tough talk. He won it. He won it. Eh, or have we heard this before? Um, it's not a popular opinion that I have when it comes to Gary Russell. Let's just put that out there. Um, Gary Russell seems to be a really awesome dude. He seems to be real chill, real laid back. We know in the ring, we know he's one of the pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world. We've seen his skills and what he's capable of doing. He's real focused when it comes to getting ready for his matches and always comes correct. His family, we all know about his family, his father, his brothers, how just focused they are in life and, what they do. I've been to a couple of boxing events, and his brothers are always fighting in the undercards. So they're putting in that work, and they're building the foundation that's going to bring them, to higher levels, shortly in the near future, going to get them to that, to that podium in the near future. So when it comes to that aspect of him, got nothing but respect when it comes to that. But when it comes to all these different types of call outs and the things that he says he's going to do when it comes to outside of the ring in order to progress himself, I have to you have to sit back and just look at the reality of the things that's actually happening, what he's saying and what he's actually doing when it comes to those things. I remember a little back ago, I kind of, go through it a little bit again. He was calling out Lomachenko. I want Lomachenko. I want Lomachenko. I want Lomachenko. I want Lomachenko. Coming up to, to one of his fights. And boom, the fight happens. He wins the fight. After the fight, they ask him, he's talking about Lomachenko. And they said, so you're saying you want to take on Lomachenko next? You're saying you want to take on Lomachenko next? And he's like, nah, I don't want him next. But before the end of my career, I got to see him. He got to come see me. He got to come see me. This happened. This is something that is reality. It actually did happen. When it came to the Gervonta Tank situation, he said, yeah, I want to go up there. I want to take on Tank. I want to beat Tank. But he said what he's going to do is, he's like, I'm going to go up. I want to fight. I want to drop my belt, because I'm with the WBC. I'll automatically become the mandatory in the next weight class up. This is his words. And I want to take on Burchelt. I want to beat Burchelt. And after I beat Burchelt and I get that belt, I'm on Tank's tail. That's what he said. And his next fight is on Showtime at 126 pounds. He's defending his 126-pound belt. So what he said he was going to do, he didn't do. And when it came to an interview that he did with Barbershop Conversations, in the interview, he does say this. When they brought up Tevin Farmer, his exact words were, when it comes to that fight, I don't see there's no money in that fight. Business-wise, there's no reason to do that fight, because they're like, oh, okay, you come up to 130. Okay, you get that Burchelt belt. We know Farmer's is an IBF champion, and he's someone that's been linked to Tank for a very, very long time. And we know that he has a relationship with Eddie Hearn, because he's been talking about how he's been talking with Eddie Hearn and the things that Eddie Hearn's been saying to him. There's a possibility that his next fight, might have that on his own, things of that nature. And this is what he said, came out of his mouth, and he said that, there's no money in that fight. So now all of a sudden he talks about, oh, I was gonna go to 135. But I'll stop at 130, and take on you. It's like, what? Hold on. What do you mean 135? Weren't you supposed to go to 130 and take on weren't you supposed to go to 130 pounds and take on Burchelt and get that belt? Weren't you supposed to do that? So now you're not doing that. Now you were supposedly gonna jump the 130-pound weight division and go all the way to 135 pounds. And it's like, and who exactly were you going to take on? Teofimo is taking on Lomachenko. The dude Campbell is fighting that Cuban dude for the WBC belt. So they're going to be busy as well. And then the winner of that has to fight Devin Haney. So you're putting yourself in a position to fight for that particular belt. And it looks as if you're not fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. And it looks as if Gervonta Tank Davis is probably coming down to 130. Coming down to 130 to take on Leo Santa Cruz. Which is also weird because supposedly he said that he was promised, Gary Russell said that he was promised Santa Cruz next after this fight. Which is also like, what do you talk? How are you promised this fight if Tank is already linked to Santa Cruz, and Santa Cruz is not talking about you? Santa Cruz is talking about fighting Gervonta Tank Davis and how he wants it down to 130, and Tank is saying, "Now I'm cool with coming back down to 130." You know, he's like, I can fight at 130 and I can fight at 135. So when you hear and see all these things, it gets confusing, and people like to get hyped up a lot. You know, when they hear certain talk, and because we all love the sport, and because we love, I always say, don't be blinded by your love for the sport. Always take that step back and look at the things for what they are. I guess people might want to call me a negative person, but a lot of times what I say ends up becoming reality. You know, everybody when it came to the Crawford situation, I always said when it came to Crawford, I believe that he was complaining from what was going on. You know, and then these certain fighters start to step up saying, Porter and Daniel saying, I'll fight you. And now all of a sudden he doesn't want to fight them because they, quote, don't have belts, and he's only about legacy fights. Things are kind of turning out the way after, you know, like I said, back then I might have looked like, oh, you just being negative, you being a hater. We see how things are now. You know, even when it came to the Anthony Joshua situation, when he was offered that $50 million, people were like, yo, he's going to take his. I'm like, nah, he's not going to take that $50 million. And he's not going to fight Wilder. When Wilder agreed to $15 million, people were like, oh, yeah, it's going to. I'm like, no, he's not going to take that, because I'm listening to what he's saying. You know, I'm not going to fight him until I'm ready. Maybe I might not fight him I might fight him in 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, or never. I'm hearing what their promoters are saying. Hey, if Anthony Joshua never fights Deontay Wilder and he goes undefeated for the next 10 plus years, we're happy with that. I'm listening to those things. So when it comes to the Gary Russell situation, I'm listening to the things that he said, and then I'm comparing them to things of what he's actually done. So when I look at all those particular things, I have to question if he's really real when it comes to fighting Tevin Farmer. Maybe he is. Maybe he's had a change of heart. Maybe he has. But what's ironic, because I said what he should have done was go fight, drop your belt, go to 130, take on Burchelt, beat Burchelt, get that WBC belt. Then after that, he should have went and fought Tevin Farmer for the IBF on the zone. Let them pay you a boatload of money, and now you're a unified champion. Now you're coming up as a unified champion where you could be like, yo, I took care of your dirty work. What's up, homie? It's time to roll. And you put yourself into a position where now that's really a huge fight. That's a big, big fight. Where there's a lot of money into it. You know what I'm saying? With the Gervonta by himself, I believe with Santa Cruz, he's doing 330. Now, if he had did something like that, now we might be looking at a $500,000 pay-per-view fight or more. Because Tank has more pull than a lot of people think. His following is a lot greater than people think. You know, so I think that's what it would have been. But all these moves that he said he was going to make, he never made those moves. So when he says things like this, like, yeah, I'm coming for you next, I have to sit back and wait to see if he actually does it. Because there's been a lot of talk when it comes to him about making these particular moves to put him into position to be great. But so far, he hasn't done it. So after his next fight and Tevin Farmer's next fight, I guess we'll have to see. But for now, I can't be happy just with the words. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.